Hello, it's Nini. So we're back again with our home-based job series, and for today's video, we're gonna talk about how to ace your virtual interview. If you've already seen my last video, I posted there some links on places or websites where you can actually look for vacancies for home-based jobs here in the Philippines. And I bet you guys are already eyeing some prospects. If you haven't seen that video yet, I'm gonna post that on the description box below. And I guess you're already very excited, like me when I first started out with job hunting. But before you jump into the water, kailangan nyo munang i-prepare yung sarili nyo. You have to do a little research and a little practice. Consider this as a beauty pageant. You know you already have the looks, but everyone knows that the most important part is the Q&A. Stay tuned because later I'm gonna share with you some awkward questions or surprise questions na pwedeng mag-pop up during your interview that can make or break your chances. Hit the thumbs up button if this is for your first job. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's say your resume was already chosen. Good job! And you are already scheduled for an interview. Now, before your interview begins, you have to test your equipment. Make sure that you have a headset and a webcam ready. Some do not require it, but most clients will. So make sure you look professionally presentable. So here we are at the initial interview. It's most likely gonna be the same questions, like a screening question when you apply for a job in the office. Pero some questions will be different. Different how? You will be asked about your home setup, like your PC and your internet connection. Is your source of electricity stable? Do you have a backup in case something happens? Those things. So it's important that you are prepared for those and you know what equipment you really have. Apart from that, apart from the equipment which you will be using, they also check on the home setup itself. Meaning they also check on the people that you live with. Like how many of you live at home? Do you have any kids? Do they go to school? Do you live with your parents? Do they work? Does your husband work? Where do you have your computer set up? Is it a room? Do you have a separate office? So those things, and you don't have to be taken aback because they really do ask those questions just so they could know like what they're getting into. Pwede rin nilang itanong kung ano ba yung mga times you usually sleep or time na pumapasok yung mga bata, yung mga ganyan. Just make sure you're prepared. Most of the time naman talaga, kapag initial interview, nire-review lang nila yung nilagay mo sa resume mo. But if they ask you something else, make sure you discuss yung mga bagay na hindi or nawala sa resume mo. You don't want to give them something that they have already read. Your goal here is to keep them intrigued in a sort of good way, in a relevant way. So, mention something na intriguing pero relevant pa rin dun sa position na ina-applyan mo. Okay, so initial interview done. Let's talk about succeeding interviews. Let's say the client was impressed with your first interview and scheduled you for another interview or a final interview. Now, when you had your first interview, your goal there was to impress. It's different for a final interview. Goal mo is to make your client comfortable with you. Kailangan ma-feel nila that they can work with you for a long time. That is very important. So, ang advice ko is i-research nyo muna, i-look up nyo si client if they have a website or if they have a Facebook page or any social media accounts. Check them out, check their posts, what kind of humor they have, yung community na ginagalawan nila, ano yung binavalue ng business nila, which is also important. So take note of those and incorporate it onto your own para you can find a common ground. Tapos, share with them also bits and pieces of yourself and let your personality color the conversation. Meaning, it's gonna be a give and take conversation. You're not just gonna wait for the client to ask you questions and you're gonna answer it back. You also have to take part in it. Some of the questions that you can ask are, have you also had that experience? There was also this one time when a client asked me, so you've been in Qatar and I had to ask them back, yes, do you have any experience or have you been in the Middle East? So something like that. Make sure it's a back and forth conversation. Earlier on, I mentioned that there are some surprise questions or awkward questions. I really wouldn't say awkward, but it's really difficult and it could lead to an awkward scenario. I'm gonna tell you those 3 questions now. So number 1, what is your weakness? Most people are taken aback when they are asked to say something negative about themselves. You can make light of the conversation and make a joke out of it, but the best way to handle that question is to tell them about an experience you had in the past that you had some difficulty or challenge with. Tell them how you were able to overcome it. Next question would be, what is your special talent? It's a trick question. It kind of gauges what do you think you're best at. So just plainly tell them what you are professionally good at, which is uniquely yours. Not everybody has it. Third would be, if you were a brand, what would be your motto? It's kind of a gauge on your values, what do you value and how you prioritize them. So just choose any motto that you can relate to and make sure that it can also relate to the job you are applying for. Okay, so if your client has already finished with their questions, you can also ask them about any information regarding the work that you will get into. But I would warn you not to ask about the compensation unless they are the one who initiated it, because there will be another time to discuss that, and that would be during your job offer. So just hold off your horses for now. Just ask them how you did. What do they think of you? So how did I do? What do you think? Something like that. And make sure you listen well to their response and gauge nyo yung tone ng boses nila, kung are they very excited or looking forward to something, masaya ba sila, or medyo strained and discreet and parang closed off yung tone. Dun yung mag-gauge yung chance nyo ng success dun sa interview. So good luck guys and do your best, and for more videos like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and if you have any questions, you can always put it in the comment box. Thanks guys for watching. Bye!